Good evening. You're watching To The Point. I'm Akshita Nandagopal. This evening, we're going to be talking about the mega Congress protest that was staged on the streets of the national capital. And the big breaking news that's coming in right now, Home Minister Amit Shah, in his reaction to this protest, has lashed out at the Congress and said that this agitation, why has it happened today of all days? And he claims that the Congress, wearing their black shirts and completely clad in black out there on the streets of Delhi, were actually out to send out a subtle message. That's the word he's used, to send out a subtle message against Ram Mandir. That's what Home Minister Amit Shah has claimed. The BJP now opening a whole new front against the Congress. We're going to be getting you all the latest reactions coming in on this. But first, listen in to exactly what Amit Shah said.
आज ही के दिन इस देश के प्रधानमंत्री श्री नरेंद्र मोदी जी ने राम जन्मभूमि का शिलान्यास किया था। कांग्रेस ने आज का दिन इसीलिए विरोध के लिए और विशेषकर काले कपड़ों में विरोध के लिए सिलेक्ट किया है कि वो एक सटल मैसेज देना चाहते हैं कि हम राम जन्मभूमि के शिलान्यास का विरोध करते हैं और अपनी तुष्टीकरण की नीति को वो आगे बढ़ाना चाहते हैं। और मैं तो यही कहना चाहूंगा कि तुष्टीकरण की नीति न देश के लिए अच्छी है न कांग्रेस के लिए अच्छी है। तुष्टीकरण की नीति के चलते ही आज कांग्रेस जिस स्थिति में है वो स्थिति में दिखाई पड़ रही है।
So that is the attack that's come in from Amit Shah just moments ago while speaking there. He's in fact lashed out at the Congress. Let's cut across to the UP Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath's reaction.
मानित करने वाला कांग्रेस के नेताओं का आचरण अत्यंत निंदनीय है। कांग्रेस पार्टी कई दिनों से आंदोलन कर रही है, अपने सामान्य कपड़ों में कर रही थी। सहमति असहमति हो सकती थी, लेकिन 5 अगस्त की तिथि को श्री राम जन्मभूमि मंदिर निर्माण कार्य के शुभारंभ दिवस के दिन, अयोध्या दिवस के दिन, माननीय उच्चतम न्यायालय के सम्मान दिवस के दिन राम भक्तों को अपमानित करने वाला कांग्रेस का यह आचरण एक बार फिर जग जाहिर हुआ है। आज कांग्रेसियों ने काले कपड़े पहन करके जो प्रदर्शन किया है, यह श्री राम जन्मभूमि मंदिर निर्माण की तिथि के दिन यह राम भक्तों का अपमान है, अयोध्या दिवस का अपमान है, भारत के लोकतंत्र का अपमान है, भारत की न्यायपालिका के सम्मान का अपमान है। कांग्रेस के इस कृत्य की हम निंदा करते हैं और कांग्रेस पार्टी जिस प्रकार का आचरण कर रही है, मुझे लगता है कोई भी भारत का आस्थावान व्यक्ति कांग्रेस के इस आचरण का समर्थन नहीं कर सकता है। यह राम भक्तों का अपमान है। कांग्रेस पार्टी को अपने इस कृत्य के लिए देश की जनता से माफी मांगनी चाहिए। इस प्रकार के कृत्य को इस देश कतई स्वीकार नहीं कर सकता। कांग्रेस ने आज जो भी आचरण किया है, इसको कोई भी भारतीय स्वीकार नहीं कर सकता है।
That is the live reaction that just came in from UP Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath. He claims that the Congress has offended and insulted Ram Bhakts by holding this kind of a black protest on the day that the Prime Minister had laid the foundation stone for the Ram Mandir 2 years ago. In fact, now clearly the BJP is latching on to what Home Minister Amit Shah has said and taking forward that exact narrative with one senior leader after another, now sending out a message that the Congress has offended, insulted Ram Bhakts by holding this kind of a Black Friday protest on the exact same date. This is the big news that we're tracking right now. We're going to try and get you also reactions that are coming in right now from the Congress. I spoke to Adhiranjan Chaudhary earlier, who said that we have not mentioned Ram Mandir even once for Amit Shah to state this. But Home Minister Amit Shah's contention is this: why did you choose today of all days. Rajyavardhan Singh Rathore of the BJP is joining us on this broadcast. Lok Sabha MP, good evening, Mr. Rathore. The Congress is asking, how has this parallel been drawn? We have not mentioned Ram Mandir even once during our protest.
Yes, so first of all, the very premise of the protest is trying to protect one family, and they are trying to divert the attention by talking about inflation. Today, Congress leaders, if you heard them, their throats were going hoarse, trying to tell that, oh, this is not about one family, this is all about inflation. But really, this is about deflecting the attention that is coming because of 5,000 crore scam that is against one family. They want to protect one family. And yes, there is a subtle messaging that is going on of choosing the day, wearing black clothes on the very day that the puja was held for Ram Mandir. I mean, these things will not go unnoticed, and certainly the initial protests which they were doing, trying to protect this one family, was getting exposed in the entire media. They were destroying the public property, rioting, and it is only for sheer questioning by an institution of the country. And now, to sort of hide that, they created a facade of inflation. I mean, they can talk about the inflation numbers. They discussed in the parliament. The finance minister very clearly articulated as to how, despite the global scenario, despite big nations like US, China, of them defaulting in multiple ways, including banks going bankrupt, India has still maintained the inflation rate below 7%, and in the UPA times it used to be above 9%. It was very bad in that state. So they have no argument. They could not argue in the parliament, and hence they want to block the streets and basically divert attention from one family. And for what? For refusing to be questioned by institution,
but
by
Mr.
a constitutional
Rathore,
institution
Mr.
of
Rathore,
India.
Mr. Rathore, even, you've said that this is an attempt to divert attention from the National Herald case. At the same time, now with this Ram Mandir issue, this narrative being brought up, is it an attempt by the BJP to divert attention from issues like unemployment and price rise?
No, the finance minister very clearly articulated in the parliament, which was broadcasted by all the television channels. We've clearly stated that despite the global bleak scenario, economic scenario, India is still doing very well. Most of the nations, most of the agencies are rating Indian economy as the fastest growing economy. There is no person who is going hungry. It was UPA that had declared anybody who is earning 29 rupees as above the poverty line, and therefore they wanted to wash their hands off from even taking care of such people. We've been distributing free rations for the last 2.5 years to about 80 crore population. We are ensuring that the states, everybody in the state is able to get the right infrastructure for development of the country. The banks are ensuring that there's liquidity available with people. The industries are growing. That's why India is projected by whether it's IMF, whether it's World Bank, as the fastest growing economy. Now, the world is also seeing India as a stable country to invest in a country. So let's not talk about inflation. We have been able to maintain that. The point is that they are trying to deflect the attention from one family that needs to answer the questions. And we are not deflecting the attention. We are talking that let's go into the subtle messaging of why the black dress today. Why today?
And Karti Chidambaram is with us. Karti Chidambaram is wearing that black shirt. Karti, vanakkam. Thank you for joining us here on India Today. I can see you're wearing that black shirt, which has become the uniform for Congress today. Black Friday, essentially, during your protest. Amit Shah is saying that you're wearing that black shirt in protest over the Ram Mandir and the construction of the Mandir.
I'm glad that the Home Minister has noticed our black shirts, because it's not very often that they notice or pay attention to what we say. I'm glad that we caught their attention today. And it's appropriate they're wearing the black shirt today, because it is 3 years ago today, exactly on August 5th, is when Kashmir was dismembered into 3 union territories, and still people have been held under detention in Kashmir. In order to highlight that, I think it's an appropriate day that we're wearing a black shirt. Even though this was not our original intended purpose, now that the BJP has come up with the reasoning of why we are wearing a black shirt, I can tell you that we are wearing a black shirt today because it's a black day in the history of India, because Kashmir and the people of Kashmir have been humiliated and have been subjugated.
So you're saying you're protesting over the abrogation of Article 370 as well?
No, I mean, of course we're protesting against that. If they can come up with an argument saying that we are protesting against the Bhumi Puja of the Ram temple, which is going to be come up in Ayodhya, I could easily say that we're protesting against the abrogation of 370, which happened exactly today, 3 years ago. So if that argument holds good, this argument equally holds good. And secondly, whenever an auspicious occasion happens, it always happens on a Hindu calendar day, not on the Gregorian calendar day. So in fact, you should look at the Hindu calendar to see which particular day the Bhumi Puja happened. And that definitely did not happen today, because I know today is Swati Nakshatra, and they did not do the Bhumi Puja on a Swati Nakshatra 3 years ago.
2 years back, Karti, they did it. 2 years back on this day was when the puja had happened, the foundation stone laid.
No, that's the point. That's the point I'm trying to explain to you. Hindu auspicious days are as per the Hindu almanac and Hindu calendar, not according to the Gregorian calendar. If you go back by the Hindu calendar, that day would not correspond to August 5th year on year, because the Hindu calendar goes by the nakshatra, which is 27 nakshatras. It will change. It won't coincide with the Gregorian calendar. So this is not the day.
What's your message, Karti, to the BJP when they say that, you've offended Ram Bhakts?
I'm trying to explain it to you again. If you want to extrapolate our protest today against inflation as an affront to people who pray to Lord Ram, including me, I mean, to say that, I could say that we are protesting against the abrogation of 370 and dismembering Kashmir into 3 union territories, and by incarcerating people for the last 3 years. I mean, do you, as a channel, do you have the exact number of people who have been held in captivity for the last 3 years? I mean, the number is huge. The rest of India seems to have forgotten that story.
You've opened up a whole new front here, and I want to also, Mr. Rajavardhan Singh Rathore is with us. Mr. Rathore, I'd like your reaction to what Mr. Karti Chidambaram has said here. He's saying that if you're saying that this is about the Ram Mandir, then let's also highlight here that we're worn black to protest the abrogation of Article 370.
I'm very happy that the Congress spokesperson revealed their real intentions. You were just mentioning that why has the Home Minister brought the subject of Ram Mandir in it. You see, the real intentions of Congress is this. They have a certain ideology which is so much against India at present. I mean, just imagine very clearly articulating on the television right now that we are against abrogation of Article 370. I mean, lives have been lost in Kashmir. No progress has been made in Kashmir. Policy, there was no policy for really bringing about any sort of progress and development in Kashmir. The present Modi government decided to go ahead and ensure that there is peace, there is tranquility, there is progress, there's infrastructure development in all the places like Leh, which was totally ignored earlier, or Jammu for that matter, or even Kashmir. There could have been a focused approach in Kashmir, and that's the reason why Article 370 was taken off. And the entire country is in support of having taken off Article 370. And here is a Congress spokesperson who's clearly articulating that we are wearing the black dress for this. And exactly, that's their real intention. They are against
Mr. Rathore, my apologies for interrupting, but unfortunately I just have to cut across right now to an latest reaction that's coming in from Mr. Amit Shah.
आज ही के दिन करोड़ों लोगों की आस्था का केंद्र जो राम जन्मभूमि है, वहां पर इस देश के लोकप्रिय प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी जी ने भूमि पूजन किया था। 550 साल से एक समस्या अधर में लटकी हुई थी। आजादी के बाद ज्यादातर समय कांग्रेस शासन में रही, समस्या के निपटारे के लिए कुछ नहीं किया, और जब मोदी जी ने शांतिपूर्ण तरीके से समस्या का समाधान भी निकाला और बड़ी श्रद्धा और गौरव के साथ करोड़ों लोगों के श्रद्धा केंद्र श्री राम जन्मभूमि मंदिर का शिलान्यास किया, आज उसी का पवित्र दिन है। हर रोज जो प्रदर्शन करते थे आप सभी ने भी देखे हैं, आप सभी ने भी उनके कपड़े देखे हैं। आज सभी लोग, बड़े से बड़े नेता से लेकर छोटे से छोटे कार्यकर्ता तक, सारे कांग्रेसी काले कपड़े पहनकर आए थे प्रच्छन्न रूप से उन्होंने एक संदेश भेजने का प्रयास किया है कि राम जन्मभूमि का जो शिलान्यास हुआ वो और अब जो भव्य मंदिर बनने जा रहा है, दोनों के साथ हमारा विरोध है और हम इसी के लिए प्रदर्शन कर रहे हैं। कहने की तो हिम्मत नहीं है, मगर आज भी इतनी जगह शिकस्त खाने के बाद भी कांग्रेस अपनी तुष्टीकरण की राजनीति छोड़ नहीं रही है। मेरा स्पष्ट मानना है कि उन्होंने 5 अगस्त के दिन श्री राम जन्मभूमि मंदिर का जो शिलान्यास हुआ है, इसी के विरोध के कारण ही काले कपड़े पहनकर विरोध किया है, अति तीव्रता के साथ विरोध किया है। और मैं मानता हूं कि तुष्टीकरण ने आजादी से अब तक देश का बहुत नुकसान किया है, तुष्टीकरण की नीति ने भी किया है और सभी लोगों ने तुष्टीकरण की नीति से तौबा करना चाहिए।
So that is the latest reaction from Home Minister Amit Shah, where he's reiterated what he said earlier, that all of this protest that we saw today of Rahul Gandhi, Priyanka Gandhi wearing black, all Congress leaders wearing black, it was to show the opposition to Ram Mandir. What this has effectively done, Karti, is shift the narrative. We're no longer talking about unemployment, we're no longer talking about price rise, we're talking about Ram Mandir, we're talking about abrogation of Article 370.
This is classic BJP tactics to kind of divert the people's attention. Our declared purpose was and is to highlight the inflation, to highlight the dismal economic conditions in India today. But if the BJP wants to say that we are somehow protesting against the Bhumi Puja of the Ram Mandir, which happened 3 years ago or 2 years ago, I could equally argue saying that we are doing it to protest against the abrogation of Article 370 in Kashmir and dismembering of Kashmir, which happened 3 years ago, and so many people still being incarcerated and the freedom and they don't have the liberty and freedom. And if you look at the statistics of what has happened in Kashmir in the last 3 years, you would see that there's been no improvement. In fact, the life has become more miserable for the people of Kashmir in the last 3 years than ever before. But that being the point, the reason why we protested today was to highlight unemployment, to highlight the rise in prices and the inflation which is going around, which the government wants to conveniently distract the people's attention by going into emotive issues. And if to say that we are protesting against the Ram temple is completely ridiculous. And I just want to tell you this again. I know at the cost of repeating myself. Auspicious occasion for a temple is always fixed as per the Hindu almanac. And the Hindu almanac day does not necessarily coincide.
Karti, just quickly, because I'm running out of time and I want to bring in Mr. Rathore as well. Finally, but why today? Amit Shah is asking the question, why today?
Why today? We picked the day. It has nothing to do with that. You know, you're just trying to go. If you can extrapolate it as a protest against the Ram temple, I could extrapolate it and say that we are protesting against the abrogation of 370. But that is not the reason why we protested. We protested against price rise. We protested against the inflation, and we protested against the apathy of this government, which has given a death blow to the economy from its demonetization, for its mindless lockdown, and as well as for the completely flawed GST.
Okay. Okay, final comment from you, Mr. Rathore. In the Congress protest, I was there, I covered it, there was not a single mention of Ram Mandir made by any Congress leader who was there wearing black and staging a protest. Is this an attempt, and I'd like to ask this because I started off with this question to you as well, is this an attempt to brush these people issues under the carpet of price rise, of unemployment, inflation?
Look, I mentioned to you that the Finance Minister very clearly in the debate in Parliament, that's the place where you debate on national issues. In the debate in the Parliament, she very clearly articulated, we are the highest GST collection right now is 1.49 lakh crores. We are edible oils which are used for in food is low now because of the government's proactiveness of cutting off the import duty reduction. Many other measures. The government debt to GDP ratio is 3 times in other nations, whereas it's only half in our country. Despite the global scenario, we are maintaining the inflation below 7%, and in Congress time it used to be above 9%. But let's get to fact. I'm surprised and shocked. I mean, the Congress spokesperson is talking like a Pakistan spokesperson. He's talking about 370 again and again. Pakistan says the same. They did not want 370 to be taken off. That's exactly what Congress is saying. So they are against 370. The issue in which the entire country is united in the abrogation of 370. They are against Ram Temple. They were always against it. They've chosen today's date as for the same reason. They are wanting to divert the attention from the one family which has to answer questions like anybody else, any other citizen of the country. They have to answer questions. Why are they running away of this 5,000 crore scam? Why can't they simply answer the question? Why does the whole country have to be up in arms just because of one family? That's the whole issue. And as regards inflation, as regards Mengai, there is a place for discussion, and it's been discussed, and they were not present in the parliament at that point of time. Now they want to block the roads for what? Diverting the attention of the country and talking about 370, talking about all of these issues. It's quite apparent why they're doing this.
The narrative being pushed here from both you, Mr. Rathore, is that this is a diversionary tactic. From Karti, you too, you're also saying that this is a diversionary tactic. But I'd like your response to what the BJP is saying here, that why did you walk out when Nirmala Sitharaman was speaking in Parliament? That's where the debate should have happened. There are attempts to disrupt, and instead you're taking this to the streets.
The finance minister was behaving like she was in Alice in Wonderland. She was completely denying the existence of inflation and the pain which the people are feeling today. In order to protest her apathy, we walked out.
Okay, but what prompted this protest today? What prompted all of you to hit the streets? Because before this, I can't think of a single instance, Karti, when the Gandhis have hit the streets bringing up these issues.
Why not? When we do it, you ask us why. When we don't do it, you ask us why not. So we chose this day in consultation with all our state units, and this day was chosen to protest against the apathy of the BJP's government, against the economic situation in India, and their complete disregard to the fact that common people are suffering. End of story. I mean, now you want to give it a completely different spin in the evening. It took them a whole day to come up with this narrative, and a completely different spin, trying to spin it as if we were against the Bhumi Puja of the Ram temple, which happened 2 years ago. If they are willing to spin it like that, I can spin it to say that we are protesting against the abrogation of 370, which is a dark day in the history of Kashmir and the history of liberty in India.
Is this the Congress's stand, though, Karti? Because, you know, they've been very shy of making comment, because you've got Mr. Rathore even saying that this is like Pakistan speaking.
No, that is anybody who believes in liberty would oppose what happened to the people of Kashmir. The people of Kashmir are suffering. They've been subjugated, and that is the truth, and that is the position. The point is, I am saying this because you're spinning it. You're spinning the purpose of our protest today from the economy to the Ram temple. Since you came up with that narrative, I could say I could come up with another narrative as well. That's the point I'm trying to make. But the point is, the protest today was about the economy and about the apathy of the BJP government towards the suffering of the common people.
Okay, I take your point, particularly on the fact that, you know, when you don't protest these particular issues, there's a lot of criticism saying why not. So I take that point. It's a fair one. Mr. Rathore, considering that, you know, the opposition has a right to protest, they are expected to raise issues that matter to the people. And Karti Chidambaram is now saying this is an attempt to kind of spin the narrative and change the entire issue, take the focus away from unemployment, from price rise, because that's something that matters to the people.
Okay, let's, for one instance, go to the core issue. Isn't Parliament the place where they should be debating? Haven't they been elected by whatever few numbers that have been elected? Haven't they been elected to debate in the Parliament? At that place, the Congress spokesperson gives a very simple explanation that, oh, we did not believe the numbers, and so we walked off. And now, for the same purpose, you are blocking roads and you are creating all this riotous situation outside. So the very core issue which needed to be debated in the Parliament, there you did not stand your ground and contest the BJP or the finance minister there. All numbers are there in front. If there's a GST collection of the highest till date of 1.49 lakh crore, it's being collected. If the inflation is below 7%, it's a fact. If our debt to GDP ratio is just half of our GDP, whereas in other nations it's 3 times, it is very much there. So these needed to be debated in the Parliament. But he has a very simple explanation. Oh, we didn't like it, we walked off. But we like protesting on the streets. So we are now on the streets and wearing black dress so that we are noticed. And we want to also, the debate is on, as for him, the debate is on price rise, but we want to bring in 370 again and again and talk about why the Kashmir people are suffering. Well, they weren't suffering for 50 years.
Okay, I've completely run out of time.
You are the one who's Alice in Wonderland.
I've run out of time. Mr. Rajwardhan Singh Rathore, thank you very much for joining us. Thanks, Karti, for taking the time out and joining us as well. Essentially, between the BJP and Congress right now, it's become a narrative versus narrative fight. That's all we have time for in this edition of To The Point. Thanks very much for watching.